started at 5 minutes and 10 seconds. So now I've got to figure out how to fill the other five minutes of something I hadn't anticipated at all. I wasn't going to really say much about my background, just a couple of sentences, but I've got to fill in 5 minutes, or part of it, 5 minutes. I grew up in New York City. I was one of the poorest kids in a poor neighborhood. And I met a local girl in Cape May, fell in love, got married. We lived in the Bronx for a year, and it seemed normal to me, but she couldn't adapt to living in the Bronx. And one day it dawned on me, this is no place to raise children. And so we moved down to Cape May County. And in Cape May County, I worked on a commercial clamor out of Snows, delivered newspapers, sold advertising for the press, sold real estate for course in hand, had my broker's license, opened my own real estate agency, Ethics Real Estate. Made a fortune in real estate. Bought a hotel, a motel, a restaurant, a fast food place, a print shop, a warehouse, houses, land, right? Until the energy crisis of the 70s, the economy tightened up and I was totally leveraged out and I lost everything. I turned to the Lord, got a whole new set of values. I started thinking in terms of treasure in heaven. And I didn't mean to go on this tack, but here I am. I started reading the Bible. I got to Matthew chapter 18, where the disciples are arguing amongst themselves, which of them is going to be the greatest when they get to the kingdom of heaven? And Jesus, overhearing them, has a child stand in the midst of them and explains, unless they become like a child in their heart, unless their hearts change, they won't even get into heaven. And that anyone that would offend a child, it'd be better for that man if a millstone were hung around his neck and he would drown in the depth of the sea. And anyone that would help a child, better for that man, that anyone that would help a child helps him and the one who sent him. And I was reading that as a businessman who had had treasure on earth. This is not to boast, but I went from one of the poorest kids in a poor neighborhood, holes in my sneakers and long sleeve flannel shirt, hand-me-downs in the summer, to 3 Rolls Royces, living in the Peter Shields Inn, on a hotel, motel, all this stuff like Wilder's version of Donald Trump. And I was miserable. A stranger to my kids, on the verge of divorce, like a money junkie. Like drinking salt water, the more I had, the thirstier I was. Until I lost everything, turned to the Lord, got a whole new set of values, and started thinking how to store up treasure in heaven. Something the bankers, the lawyers, the politicians can't take away. Okay? But I realized this at a time when I had lost everything and everything I could do to somehow come home at the end of the day with a gallon of milk for my own kids. So I started to pray, Lord, give me the means to do something. Now that I have a cause in my life, I have no means. And the answer came back as the inspiration for a low-cost greenhouse. I drew a picture of it, put an ad in the shop for $1. Based on the drawing, sold one, and little by little started building greenhouses, scratching my way back up. Gradually, for lack of a better word, the invention of the greenhouse evolved into a greenhouse with a windmill on top, into a windmill on floats out in the bay, into a means of harnessing the energy of the waves. Then in series anchored along the coast that would not only harness the energy of the ocean waves, but in the byproduct of taking energy out of the ocean waves is to reverse beach erosion, thereby saving hundreds of millions of tax dollars annually. And I thought naively, gee, this is at a time right after the energy crisis. I'm thinking government would be interested in this. Make America energy independent, save the environment, burn less fossil fuel, save tax dollars. And I send out packages of information to different departments of government that receive billions of our tax dollars to encourage alternative energy technology. And every department I sent the information to, I was stonewalled and I was baffled. What in the world is going on? In the meantime, we're importing more and more, higher percentage of our energy out of the Persian Gulf. I'm thinking, what in the world is going on? So I started to educate myself politically. This was 30 years ago. And I've been doing that ever since. So now I'll pick up where my regular speech was going to be. Hi, I'm Peter Boyce. I'm an inventor, the owner of Delmont Sawmill for 30 years. It's not an operation like Georgia Pacific, but more like the Waltons. So I'm not a stranger to hard work. For the past many years, I've been teaching courses on the United States Constitution. Congressman Lobiando has referred to me as a constitutional scholar. Those are his kind words, not my own. The reason that knowledge of the Constitution is so important is because the serious issues facing New Jersey are not Senator Van Drew's eternal quest for the politically correct state song, but rather President Obama's liberty-destroying, prosperity-stifling socialist policies that are being imposed upon New Jersey from Washington. Now, President Obama says, the American economy is recovering. Really? Delmont Sawmill is the only business still open in Delmont. The hardware store, the gas station, the diner, the restaurant, the welding shop, they're all closed. In Millville, Wheaton Industries that had employed thousands, closed. Ball Glass, closed. Silverton Yacht, which used to be one of my best lumber customers, recently went bankrupt. Drive down any street, any main street in the town of New Jersey, and you'll see empty storefronts. Silent monuments to the socialist policies that are being imposed upon us by New Jersey's Democrats and the Obama administration. Well, New Jersey legislators do not have to just stand idly by and let this happen. They have the power to stop it if they knew how to use it. Article 1, Section 8 of the United States Constitution spells out very limited, specific powers that are delegated to the federal government. If it's not in Article 1, Section 8, they don't have the authority. The 10th Amendment reaffirms that principle with the words, quote, powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states, respectively, or to the people, end quote. Let me check my notes. President Obama has told the truth about one thing that I know of. When he said he was going to fundamentally transform America, he's keeping his promise. He's doing it. But transforming it to what? The conservative Republicans and patriots in New Jersey are not buying it. We are not buying it. Ronald Reagan told a joke during the Cold War about a citizen of that socialist utopia, the Soviet Union, applying to the bureaucracy for an automobile. And he fills out a big stack of forms and gives them to the bureaucrat, and the bureaucrat goes through all the forms and says, okay, all the forms are here, everything's in order. And the man says, in anticipation, well, when can I expect to receive my automobile? And the bureaucrat says, well, that'll be in 5 years. And the man asks, will that be in the morning or the afternoon? And the bureaucrat asks him, why do you need to know that? And the guy says, well, because the plumber's coming in the morning. Now, under Obamacare, you'll be that guy filling out forms for the bureaucrats. But you won't be applying for an automobile. You'll be applying for coronary bypass or kidney or gallbladder surgery. But your fate will not be in the hands of medical doctors. They'll be in the hands of bureaucrats. Bureaucrats weighing your estimated future production in relation to the cost of the operation. Especially if you're over 55. You are expendable. You are completing your cycle. Or if you're under 15, in which case they don't have much of investment in you yet. Read the 2,700 pages of the Patient Protection Affordable Care Act. My suggestion, start with Section 1553 just to get your blood boiling. This is real. This is coming. Now so state legislators can nullify Obamacare simply by exercising their 10th Amendment rights as a sovereign state. They can use the teeth, the pit bull teeth of the 10th Amendment to turn back unconstitutional federal legislation at the state line. The same thing can be done with the gun control laws, the unconstitutional gun control laws coming from the federal government. 32 states have already introduced legislation nullifying these gun control laws, as New Jersey is playing politics. Taking the means away from honest citizens to defend themselves only makes criminals safer. Think about that. Let me repeat it. Making honest citizens defenseless only makes criminals safer. So what sense does that make? Okay, I better get to it. Well, nullification can stop bad federal bills at the state line, but New Jersey also has internal problems. It seems the Democrats have never met a tax or regulation they didn't like. The answer to these problems lies in our state flag. Our state flag features the goddesses of liberty and prosperity, because the founders knew prosperity follows liberty as surely as wet streets follow rain. The answer is as simple as the 3 R's. Rollback, costly unconstitutional programs. Repeal, stifling regulatory burdens off the necks of small businesses so they can expand and begin hiring the unemployed. Reduce taxes as government is downsized to its proper constitutional limits. In closing, the British called us Yankee Doodles, and we played along and kicked their doodles back across the Atlantic. Well, I've heard New Jersey derogatorily referred to as the Soprano State. Well, okay, I'll play along. With my best North Jersey accent, let me close by saying, I'm asking all you good people to please give me the opportunity to go to the state legislature, and for the next 2 years, I'll be making those Democrats constitutional offers they can't refuse. I want to thank you. Make Boyce your voice in Trenton. May God continue to bless America, and may God continue to bless His Garden State. Thank you.